Hello, this is Joanna Jockin. I just want to give you a brief introduction to the course. So this might be, usually this video ends up to be about 15 to 20 minutes. So that's me in the middle with my two kids. And so I wanted to take you through kind of our Blackboard shell, which maybe I'll go back out. So in Blackboard, I'll open up the course for you. So you should click on Math 108. DL1, and then it should take you to this. This is the Start Here page. And so we'll come, actually, I think I need to turn this edit mode off so that you see what that this will look like what you see. So it will look like this. Typically the way I use a lot of these left like a menu over here. So it's like a welcome message. You can either click this right arrow to get to read the syllabus, or you can just click down. I think in here it doesn't allow you to skip, so you have to go through each of these one by one. So the second thing it asks you to do is read the syllabus, which we'll go through in a minute. It talks about what technology I use in the class, which is pretty minimal. I mean, you really... sometimes people might, we're using YouTube, so it's usually pretty good. But MyMathLab might, sometimes you have to play with your computer for that. A little advice about doing well in an online course. Takes you through steps to sign up for MyMathLab, which I'll briefly introduce, but here is a whole lot more information about MyMathLab. And then there's a little quiz about the syllabus, so you need to take this before the end of the first week. So it's a real short quiz. It just makes sure that you've gone through the syllabus. Okay. So the first thing I do want to do is to go to the syllabus, which you'll find here under this left link for syllabus. You'll see a link there, so if you want to download it or print it, I'm going to talk through that. You can pause the video. So this is an introductory calculus. Usually we call this business calculus. It's intended for, at George Mason, IT majors and largely business majors. It does count for the quantitative reasoning portion, so sometimes people take it for that. But typically, if you're a STEM major, science, like College of Science, or otherwise in the engineering outside of IT, this course was not for you and usually doesn't count in your credits. My name is Joanna Jockin. My office address is in Exploratory Hall 4403, and here's my email. So I don't typically answer math questions over email. It's just a really hard place to answer questions. And if you have questions on math, I just want to make those questions and answers available to the whole class through the discussion board. So if you have math questions, we can talk about them. But I usually do that over the discussion board if you want to do that virtually. If you have specific questions about, let's say, your grade, or you have a specific circumstance that's kind of a private nature, or just specific to you, right? Like you got in a car accident and can't be there for the exam, then that is the sort of thing that you should send me over email. So just to protect your privacy and make sure that we're doing that. I typically respond to emails Monday through Friday once a day. So if you send me something outside, like on the weekends, I'll get to it on Monday. But please don't worry. I know a lot of things feel kind of like emergencies in this class, but we can deal with them. I also have real in-person office hours, Monday, Wednesday, 1:30 to 3 in Exploratory 4403. I also make appointments or talk to people online or over the phone in this online class, so please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions. There's a prereq in this course. If you got enrolled, you likely satisfied the prereq. And we basically go over some introductory calculus, no trig in this course. It's a pretty good course with some applications to business. You do need an access code to MyMathLab. We've stopped recommending that students purchase the book, although you can do that at the bookstore too. If you purchase a new book, it comes with an access code. If you purchase the access code only, it comes with access to the ebook. So that is up to you. Typically, students are not able to resell their books for very much money because the access code is not included in a used book. So you can just think about that when you're choosing what to purchase. You need to have a simple scientific calculator. You can't have calculators that do numeric integration or differentiation. So like the TI-36X Pro does that, so that's not allowed. And no graphing calculators are allowed in the course. This is an online course, so I expect that you have access to the internet, and here are kind of required technologies. Typically, if you have a high-speed internet connection, you can take this course without trouble. The course is online, but we do take exams in person. They're proctored, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but you either need to be able to come to George Mason or arrange for an alternate proctor if you're more than 50 miles from George Mason campus. But we need to find an alternate proctor at the beginning of the semester if you're going to be absent for any of the exams. There are 2 unit tests. Those are worth 20% each. There's homework in MyMathLab, that's 15%. There's a quiz each week in MyMathLab, those count 10%. There are written problems that you submit on Blackboard. We'll talk about all of this, and the final exam is 20%. So MyMathLab, there's a whole bunch of introductory information online, and I showed you that link. So here's the support site if you have trouble. All assignments in this class are due on Mondays by 11:59, except for, tests are due earlier than that on Mondays, but we take them on Mondays. So I do accept homework late for a 20% penalty and quizzes late for a 20% penalty. So, but the last day to turn in all of that MyMathLab homework and quizzes is December 10th. Written work is work, and I'll show you an example of that, is also due Monday by 11:59 p.m. I don't accept that late because I post solutions pretty quickly after it's due. Instead of accepting work late, I just drop a couple of assignments. So you'll see that you should read through this information. You have to, I accept single PDF files. There are formatting requirements for the written work. I don't accept JPEG images or Word files. Multiple files are not accepted. So you'll see this. I have tried to be really clear in this online class about there's expectations for written work that's in Unit 1, and I'll show you. And there are expectations for graphing we do in the first week. So you can take a look at that, but I'm pretty serious about kind of having the written work adhere to a certain standard. And so you'll see that. I do provide solutions, and I also grade them in Blackboard, so you can go in and see my comments there to see what deductions you have. And there's also practice written work problems, which I'll show you in Blackboard too. 2 exams and a comprehensive final. I don't give makeup exams without a pretty serious excuse for an absence, and that is all determined by me. So if there's any reason why you are going to be absent for an exam, you'll need to provide real documentation, and it will also need to be serious. I suggest you contact me as soon as you can. Sorry, I have a little frog in my throat today. I apologize. Exam dates are in the schedule. We use a test proctoring center in the math department, so usually there's a window of time on those Mondays where you're able to take the test. The schedule isn't set for the fall, but I'll put that up as soon as I can. Exams are proctored to uphold strict academic integrity standards, so you can't work with other people on the exams. You can use a scientific calculator, but no other calculator on the exam. And then usually seats are assigned or you're told where to sit in the proctoring center, and you can't leave the exam room until you're ready to turn in the exam. Here's some information down here about alternate proctoring if you live more than 50 miles from the GMU Fairfax campus, about how to arrange for that. Again, if you need an alternate proctor, you should contact me immediately, like at the beginning of the semester, and then we have to get those approved by September 8th. I don't approve any alternate proctoring facilities later in the semester. Here's a reiteration of late work policy so that you know. I don't accept written work late, but I do drop 2 low grades for both excused and unexcused absences. I accept MyMathLab assignments late, but there's a 20% late penalty for homework and quizzes, and no exams are taken late without excused absence, in documentation. Okay. So routinely people will ask me over and over again to accept written work late, and I just would say I just respect the fact that you guys have a lot going on, and that you probably don't need to explain every aspect of your life to me in order to turn in something late. So that's why I just drop 2 grades so that you can kind of make decisions and prioritize things in your own life. I know there's a lot of times where people have things that aren't quite excused but are very valid reasons for missing assignments, and so I just drop a couple. Okay. Um, there's some more stuff here. There's tutoring in the Johnson Center, and that's pretty good for this class. Um, I'm pretty serious about academic honesty in this class. If you have a learning difference or something that you think needs to be accommodated under ADA compliance, please contact the Office of Disability Services. And I would also say this includes things like short-term disabilities. So like if you break your leg, that's also the office that you go to get accommodations for whatever you would need. So just so that you know, it's both short and long-term kind of accommodations. Um, so here is the schedule. You'll just see a week by week breakdown. So in week 1, these are the dates. It runs August 29th through September 4th. Practically everything is due September 4th, and there is quite a bit due this first week. Like how to use MyMathLab and the syllabus quiz are really inconsequential things, and they're open now, so you can do this stuff. The MyMathLab homework, the MyMathLab quiz, and the written work are all math related. These other 2 are just kind of how to use the technology. So you'll see that kind of a listing of due dates in this far right column, including exam due dates. So if you have any sort of work conflicts, these dates are there for you now so that you can kind of negotiate that in your workspace. So you'll see that. Over Thanksgiving, we'll have things due that Monday, the week of Thanksgiving, but otherwise we don't cover new material so that you can kind of have time with your families. And you'll see there the final exam is given on a sequence of days so that you can kind of arrange your schedule. Okay. So over back in the course, I want to say, so that's where you'll find the syllabus here. What do I want to? So maybe I'll just go through these one by one. Under videos, assignments, and more, you'll find most of the bulk of the material. So here's Unit 1, which is for the first week. You'll see it goes through kind of Lesson 0, Lesson 1, Lesson 2, and I'll show you, let's see. there should be a Unit 1 written work. Let me open this up for you guys now so you can see it, and if you wanted to get started you can this first week. So let me just turn off this. Okay. And so you should see something like this in a typical unit. These written works don't open until the unit begins, so you won't see them, for example, in Unit 2. But they're like this solving quadratic equations. If I click on that, it will open a YouTube video that's just about solving quadratic equations. So if you need a little review, some of you will need to watch these review videos and some of you won't, so you can just see. And then there's a second lesson, the basics of functions, domain, classifying functions, and things like that. And here you'll see in here like how this written work practice is linked. So it says do problem 1 from the written work practice, which is located over here on the left. So I'll open that up. Actually, let me open that and we can click on it. So this practice written work are just problems that mimic the problems you'll see on the exams. So exams are about half multiple choice, or not multiple choice, half in MyMathLab. So the MyMathLab work you do prepares you for that, and then half written. And so these written work problems are, I mean, I'm not trying to trick you. They're the exact structure, not the exact problems. I changed the numbers in the problems, but I mean, they're the problems that you'll be expected to solve on the exams. So this is a great place to get this practice written work, is a great place to get practice doing that. And then they also mimic this, what you'll have to turn in this week in the written work. Okay, so there's usually like, yes, I do. There's usually 1 to 3 lessons every week, somewhere between there. Some video instruction on YouTube, usually some written work practice, and then the written work is here as well. So here in the written work, you'll see, especially in Unit 1, there's a lot of explanation. This is expectations for written work, which should be, again, a YouTube video that talks through what I'm looking for in your written work, so you won't be surprised and you don't get unnecessary deductions. There's a lot of information here about how to submit. And then here is the link. There's always questions between this practice written work here and the real written work assignments. This is the link under each written work. You'll see here's the Unit 1 written work problem. And if you open it, it's like a PDF file that looks like this. It's usually 1 to 2 problems. So you can see this problem here. It's 2 pages. If you don't have a printer, that's fine. You don't have to print this out. And I don't need you to recopy the problem. I know what it is. The main thing I need you to do is make sure your graph is as big as the graph that I provide. So don't make a tiny, like little 1 inch by 1 inch graph. That typically is not graded very well. So if you, like, I provide kind of a chart here, an axis, so that you know how much space and detail you need to be giving. Okay. Okay. We went through the syllabus. When you click on MyMathLab, it takes you to the MyMathLab site. And the first time you do this, it will ask you to register for MyMathLab and sign up for our course. The only way to do that is through MyMathLab. And again, there is a lot of information under Start Here about MyMathLab, so I won't re-go through that now. But that's the link. The written work practice here under My Grades is where you see your grades for the course. I send out all emails through this announcements tab, so if you miss something, you can go back to announcements and it's all archived there. Here's the discussion board. A link to office hours just tells you when my office hours are and how to get in touch with me. And that's pretty much the information in the course. I can't think of anything else, but if you have questions, please feel free, especially if they're about just kind of how the course works, etc., to the discussion board here. And you can also, I might say this, you don't want to create a forum. So go under here, ask questions here, and then you create a thread and you can just ask your questions. If you want to receive an email notification, because sometimes in different semesters the discussion board is really lively and sometimes it's not. If you just want to get an email when somebody posts, you can hit subscribe. That's what I do. And then that way you'll get an email notification whenever someone has posted here. And you won't miss anything. Okay? Okay, so let me know if you have questions, but welcome to the class. All of the Unit 1 material should be open and available for you to start working, so you're welcome to do that now.